The jungler already knows that your jungler is probably not around, so he can get some deep wards in, possibly counter jungle, and start setting up some wards for dragon or something. And especially, just kind of miss talking about this, but they probably got more gold and experience from that exchange than you did. By no means is that worth. In most games, CSing will win you more than anything. It'll win you the game more consistently than kills, especially after this season, because I don't know if you guys know this, but rewards for kills have severely gone down this season, and it is so much harder to snowball off kills. It is ridiculously difficult. And I remember seeing this infographic. I'm going to completely butcher the numbers. I do not remember them at all, but it was something like silver players get 20% or 30% more CS than bronze, and gold get 20% more than silver, and gold or plat get 15% more than gold, and etc. etc. And like challengers like 20% more than diamond or whatever. So just taking that into consideration alone, it just shows you that as you go up, you have to improve your CSing, or else you will never improve. And that's for every single role. Like, I play support. Like, I main Phil. Like, I like to play all the role, or I don't know if I like to play, but I try and master all the roles because I think that makes me a better overall player. But I've spent time as a support main, and I would still go into practice games by myself and practice last hitting with no runes and masteries. And I think that is an important component to have at any style of play. You're not always going to be able to get that support. You need to know how to handle yourself, in CSing, no matter what you're playing. Especially, support, it's even more important in a lot of ways because you got to be able to recognize, on tower hits, being able to help your ADC last hit. So, resisting death is a very important concept. Like I said, especially at higher tier play, because even if you don't trade 1-for-1, just if you die, you got to think, what does this get them? Oh, I killed one of their bot lane, but their mid's still up. Damn, now they're gonna get dragon off that, or they can push this turret down now. And I get really, one of my biggest pet peeves in solo queue is when people scream out worth when they trade 1-for-1, and the other team got like 3 assists. It's like, how do you think this was worth it all? Like, they're getting objectives off this now. They're getting momentum that we're not getting because you're there. Especially if you're doing really well in the game. Like, say you're 3-0, you have 40 CS more than the enemy opponent, and every other lane is going pretty average. Say you trade for one for that top again, who is worth considerably less gold now, and you just gave them a shutdown to like 3 people who got bonus experience for you being a higher level, and bonus gold for getting the kill, and they get your top turret. Yeah, even if you've already gotten that top turret, you just threw away an advantage for like, what is when somebody's 0-3? I think it's like 150 gold or something like that. So resisting death is probably the most important thing, maybe tied with CSing. That it needs to be talked about in this game. And I think that that's what everybody should aspire to do, is 1, practice their CSing, 2, resisting death, and 3, recognizing mistakes and not letting them get you down, but being able to recognize that you made them and try and work on them. And the very last thing I want to talk about is toxicity. And like I said, I have possibly gotten more toxic this season than I was last season, and it's something I'm trying very hard to work on, because it's easy to not be toxic, but it's hard to not want to be toxic, and that sounds confusing, I guess, but basically what that means is it's really not hard to just mute everybody and not talk. Or, sorry, it's really easy to just mute everybody and not talk, or even not muting everybody and just not typing. Like, you can force yourself to do that pretty well. But it's hard to not want to be toxic, because this game kind of breeds toxicity in a lot of ways, because it forces people to only focus on winning. And there's several factors for that. I mean, it's one, the community. The community kind of encourages only or nothing but winning. And also, it's the game itself, and it happens in every MOBA. One thing I wholeheartedly believe is games like the reason why games like StarCraft and Bloodline Champions had slightly better communities. I say slightly, like I think StarCraft 1 had a much better community than any competitive game out there, was because the matches were so much shorter. I mean, when you're stuck with people for 30 minutes and their, mistakes are costing you a game that say you'd spent 30 minutes slowly building up a lead and some guy like just cost you the game by himself, you'd be kind of upset. You just wasted 30 plus minutes on this game to have one person ruin it for you. It's upsetting. In StarCraft, you're only by yourself and you only have you to blame, and a lot of times, and the matches at most were like, what, 10 minutes? Or, no, wait, StarCraft Brood War was much longer. But, StarCraft 2, average game length was probably somewhere around 10 minutes, I'd say. I haven't played in a long time, so if that's completely off. But let's just agree they were much shorter. And Bloodline Champions were shorter by far than either one of those two on average. And even though it was 3v3, the short time game meant you had to spend a lot less time with these people. And I think that kind of encouraged a slightly better community. Besides, if you were much more skilled in that game, you could have a really big impact on every single role, which help facilitate that. But like I said, toxicity. But take into account, toxicity is a bad cycle, and it's a cycle because when you're toxic, it's going to be detrimental to your play, no matter what you may think, no matter how in control of yourself you are. If you're being an angry person and focusing solely on the mistakes of other people, you're paying less attention to your own mistakes and your own play in general. So you're just going to get into this negative cycle of being toxic, playing badly, which causes you to even be more, to get even more angry, to be more toxic, play worse. And it's a hard cycle to get out of once you're already in it. So, that's why I personally, if you can get into that mentality of only playing this game to improve yourself, like going into every game being like, I don't care if I lose, like I honestly don't care, but if I win my lane and if I win my lane and I show up at the proper team fights and I get good wards down that allow me not to get ganked, and I lose this game 5-1 and 12 with 70% kill participation, like I said, you can get out of the gold, silver, and bronze by playing by yourself, but you have to work towards that. Like, I would take that, score and be like, obviously there were things I could have done better. I could have possibly impacted the other lanes more to try and get them to catch up, but I did good, and, that's fine. Like I said, things to improve on, but I did good. And I can be happy about that, even if I didn't win the game. And I think that is the most important way to improve in solo queue. Alright, and so I think I'm going to end this broadcast here and now. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. If anybody has any questions, if anybody would like me to, if I get more support for those coaching bronze, silver games, then I'll do them. If you're a bronze or silver player, feel free to add me or come talk to me, ask me questions, anything or anything. Like, I love teaching. I love to be helpful, so, feel free. Have a good one, everybody.